Welcome to AC cable sizing for utility-scale solar PV, deconstructing the myths and mastering the US NEC method. I'm Sandip Sunny Patel, founder and CEO of Keentel Engineering. In utility-scale solar projects, selecting the right AC conductor is far more than a routine calculation. It is the backbone of plant safety, performance, and code compliance. Today, we'll walk through the exact verified engineering methods required under the National Electrical Code to ensure your plant design is optimized, code compliant, and built to last.
Across our industry, a popular cable sizing infographic based on IEC standards frequently circulates. While the general engineering concepts seem familiar, applying those assumptions to a US project leads to severe code violations, incorrect math, and undersized conductors. When you take European or IEC rules and drop them into an NFPA 70 framework, you end up with non-compliant installations that risk safety and fail inspection. This presentation provides the definitive, verified US NEC method designed specifically for utility-scale solar. Let's break down the fundamental clash between IEC assumptions and US NEC mandates. IEC often calculates design current from kilowatts at unity power factor, whereas the NEC requires sizing based on nameplate current ratings, typically kVA at 0.95 power factor. IEC omits continuous duty multipliers. The NEC strictly enforces a 125% continuous duty factor. While IEC designs often assume a full 90 degrees Celsius wire limit, the NEC caps ampacity at 75 degrees Celsius terminal lux. Furthermore, where IEC defaults to copper, US utility plants run primarily on AA8000 aluminum, requiring ICEA short-circuit constants rather than IEC values. To ensure full compliance, every AC conductor in a utility-scale PV plant must pass 5 independent tests. If it fails even one, the entire design fails. Step 1 is mapping your design current directly from inverter nameplates. Step 2 is the NEC ampacity test. Step 3 is overcurrent protection compliance under Article 240.4. Step 4 evaluates voltage drop from an economic and operational standpoint. Finally, Step 5 verifies short-circuit withstand capabilities, so conductors survive major fault events. Rule number 1. Stop calculating AC current from DC power ratings using simplified power formulas. NEC 690.8.A sub 3 explicitly mandates using the inverter's maximum continuous output current directly from the nameplate. Why? Inverters are kVA limited. Running at a 0.95 power factor delivers full current at lower real power, meaning sizing strictly by kW at 1.0 power factor leaves your cables 5.3% undersized. The nameplate rating inherently accounts for the entire operating voltage window and ambient thermal deratings up to 50 degrees Celsius. Ampacity sizing under the NEC isn't just looking up a single number. You must evaluate 2 distinct paths under NEC 690.8.B. Path 1, or Test A, verifies that the conductor's base ampacity is at least 125% of the maximum continuous current. Path 2, or Test B, applies all thermal and raceway adjustment factors to ensure the derated ampacity carries 100% of maximum current. You must select the larger conductor required between Test A and Test B, while remaining aware of equipment termination limits.
A widespread misconception among designers is assuming they can run a 90 degree C rated cable at full 90 degree C ampacity. Per NEC 110.14c, conductor ampacity cannot exceed the lowest temperature rating of any connected terminal, breaker, or switchgear, which in utility PV is universally rated for 75 degrees C. You can use the 90 degree C ampacity column as your starting point for derating calculations, but your final allowable current can never exceed the 75 degree C column limit. For example, A 750 kc mil aluminum conductor starts at 435 amps for math, but is hard-capped at 385 amps at the termination.
Avoid stacking unnecessary derating multipliers. Outdated guides often multiply 5 separate factors together, introducing both math errors and physical impossibilities. Under U.S. standards, adjust only for what the code demands. Apply ambient temperature corrections using Table 310.15b1 for your specific site conditions. Cable tray factors, governed by NEC 392.80, replace conduit fill adjustments. Do not stack both. And remember, soil thermal resistivity factors do not apply to above-ground cable tray systems. In the NEC, voltage drop recommendations are informational notes, not enforceable limits. An AHJ won't red tag a feeder purely for a 4% drop. Instead, sizing up is an economic and operational decision to prevent inverter overvoltage trips and minimize 25-year I-squared-R losses, typically targeting around 1%. When calculating voltage drop, never ignore the reactance term. Assuming unity power factor and omitting reactive impedance can underestimate your actual voltage drop by up to 25% at 0.95 power factor. A critical safety myth assumes the inverter pushes maximum fault current into the circuit. In reality, grid-following inverters are current limited to approximately 1.2 to 1.5 per unit. The massive prospective fault current actually backfeeds from the utility grid through the step-up transformer. Always determine short-circuit currents from a formal grid interconnection study, and size conductor thermal withstand using the US ICEA formula with appropriate clearing times and aluminum material constants. Let's look at how these principles apply across inverter topologies. For a 240 amp string inverter circuit, the 125% continuous duty rule pushes the design target to 300 amps, leading to a 500 kcmil aluminum conductor that comfortably meets ampacity and short-circuit needs. For a 2500 kVA central inverter block pushing 2406 amps, meeting 75 degrees Celsius terminal limits after 40 degrees Celsius derating requires 8 parallel sets of 750 kcmil aluminum per phase. Per NEC 310.10g, all 24 parallel conductors must be identical in length to ensure balanced thermal and current sharing. Upsizing phase conductors carries an important nuance regarding the equipment grounding conductor under NEC 250.122b. If you increase the size of ungrounded conductors for voltage drop, you are legally required to upsize the EGC proportionally based on circular mill area. However, if you upsize solely for ambient temperature or conduit fill derating, grounding upsize rules do not trigger. Understanding this distinction prevents over-engineering and saves thousands of dollars in metal on large-scale arrays. Misapplying these rules leads to severe real-world consequences. Overlooking a 45 degrees Celsius desert ambient on a 200 megawatt plant results in conductors continuously exceeding insulation limits, silently baking cables in the ground. Applying 90 degrees Celsius ampacities to 75 degrees Celsius switchgear leads to immediate rejection by the AHJ. Sizing purely in kilowatts instead of kVA causes inverters to trip offline during mandatory reactive power support. Precision in initial engineering protects both project capital and asset life. To ensure robust design reviews, keep these best practices front and center. Default to AA 80,000 aluminum alloy to maximize cost efficiency. Verify conductor voltage insulation ratings for 1,000 volt or 2,000 volt applications when working with 630 volt or 690 volt inverters under Article 495. For medium voltage, 34.5 kilovolt collector systems, follow Article 315 rather than standard low voltage tables. Finally, leverage Article 691 for systems 5 megawatts and above to apply stamped, engineered alternatives where appropriate. Proper cable sizing isn't just about passing a simple current rating test. It's about delivering safety, operational efficiency, long-term reliability, and plant economics. At Keentel Engineering, we approach AC/DC collection systems, cable schedules, and POI interconnections as one unified, engineered solution backed by 3 decades of industry experience. Reach out to us today to ensure your utility-scale PV plants are designed for optimal performance and complete code compliance.